Hey, Neek, did you ever hear what Kevin Durant said when he was asked about the struggles on the Nets?
What'd he say?
He said, I got Martin Luther Irving and Brick Simmons on my team. Cut me some fucking slack. You looking stunned.
Yeah, and I was gonna let you do the introduction and say what's up to everybody and everything, but when did he say that?
I don't know, back in like the end of 22.
Dang. Hey, keep him accountable.
What's
Katie,
up, y'all?
Katie's
It
way
is.
more consistent.
He is, but it is. What's up, y'all? It is May 21st, 2024. We are the HoopStorians. We are back and worse than ever. I've had the flu for now over a week and I'm ready to kill myself. But let's get into this day in NBA history. Wait, I'm Tony Styles, and that's unique. Let's get into this day in NBA history. May 21st, 1986. Ralph Sampson, who made a shot, caught with 1 second left, bounced a turnaround jumper that beat the Los Angeles Lakers 114-112 in Los Angeles in Game 5 of the 1986 Western Conference Finals. The loss kept the defending champions Lakers, who had won 62 games that regular season, out of the NBA Finals for the only time during a span of 8 years from 1982 to 1989. Hey, if you think Ralph Sampson never got hurt and him and Hakeem were able to keep progressing and all that, um, you think they would have stopped the dynasties of the Bulls, the Lakers, or do you think really they hit their ceilings in '86?
It's really kind of hard to say. The reason being is because when you know that you have that kind of competition that you got to go up against, mentally you got to prepare for that. So we may have seen different styles of play, not necessarily different styles of play, but we might have seen more intense styles of play. We may have seen more urgency play. We may have seen smarter ball, like you feel me. So it really just depends on the scouting for those two and like just the mindset going into that series, whatever team it is, just knowing that okay, we don't just have to worry about this person, but we need somebody to worry about him too. We need to let these people be our focal point. So as long as these type of conversations is going on, ain't no telling. So it's definitely hard to say. I personally feel as though because the Lakers and the Bulls both were such great teams, I feel as though they still have the same trajectory. I feel as though it might be a little more difficult, but I feel as though they do still come out with the same kind of legacy that they had, regardless.
No, that was
What you
this day
think?
in NBA history. Um, I think that the Rockets get a couple from them each. Is ultimately what I
Maybe.
think. I mean, we saw Ralph Sampson was better than anybody Hakeem had in '94 and '95. So we saw what Hakeem was able to do with a little bit of help.
Hmm.
So especially when he reached his zenith, I think 92, 93 Hakeem was probably just as good as 93, 94, 94, 95. They just, they lost in 7 to the Sonics in the second round, which was crazy. I was on a live on TikTok talking about this. And so 95 Hakeem, we've been over this, is the best player I've ever seen. This
Hmm.
dude came on there and started telling me how 96 Kemp is better than any player he's ever seen.
96 Kemp. I'm not even sure 96
96
Kemp. 96 Kemp struggled with being the best player on his team.
So yeah, he was very adamant about that. He said he was better than Peyton. He was better than all that, and it was just crazy to me. 96 Kemp basically in the playoffs was 20 points and 10 rebounds, which I mean is
That's
good. I'm not
good.
saying it's not good, right? But it's nowhere near best ever. And I mean he was at 1.5 assists with 4 turnovers and 4 personal fouls a game. Now, if you have 4 personal fouls a game, that means you're in foul trouble a lot, right? If that's your
Yeah.
average, you average
If
four
your
personal
average
fouls a game.
if your average is 4 fouls a game, you're in foul trouble often. You're damn near in foul trouble every game is what that means. What that means is you're gonna have multiple games where you're fouling out. It's gonna be multiple games where you probably cross that 4 and end up at like 5, end up on the bench. So basically, you can't keep your hands to yourself. So that's crazy for somebody getting the 10 rebounds. And then you think about it. Why is he getting 10 rebounds? Because he can jump out of the gym. So we got this dude, massive hops, but he can't keep his hands to himself. He can't quit fouling people. So yeah, that's
Yeah, so
Sean
I mean,
Kemp
I've
though.
just
I'm stuck on that. And you know what's crazy? Not even to cut
hmm,
you off. What's crazy is this: when I was a kid, I was fooled by the flare. When I was a kid, I thought Sean Kemp was amazing. Don't get me wrong, like nothing against Sean Kemp, but when I was a little kid, I thought he was way better than he was because I'm seeing him high fly. And when you're a kid, that's like the most important, at least when we were growing up, the most important thing was not the shooter, it was the dunker, it was the flyer. It was like, oh wow, that's what we're fascinated by. So because of that, he was fascinating to me because he kind of reminded me of Neek. So I did like him, and I probably thought he was way better than he actually was. But in retro, like, nah, Kemp was. I mean, he was just a very athletic player. You know, he was a very good player. I don't know that by any standard he's the best. I can't. What is he the best at? I can't even think of anything that he's even the best at to consider him the best. Period. Like even if you're talking about for a season, I can't think of one thing Sean Kemp was the best at. And again, that's not to take anything away from him. I'm just, what was Sean Kemp the best at? Just give me one thing.
well, that it's one of those things like, when I go on my Kobe rants, I got no problem about saying Kobe's a great player, but when you start telling me he's the greatest, he's the second greatest, that's when it starts, and I think that's kind of like what you're saying with Sean Kemp. Not to say Sean Kemp wasn't a good player slash great player some years or whatever. He was all NBA a couple of years. I think he was all NBA second team a couple of years.
Mhm.
Just, to be the greatest player of all time, you know what I mean? That's just a big jump from where he was at to that claim.
And let me ask you this: when we think of who has claims for the greatest player of all time, is there anybody that you can think of with no titles with a claim for the greatest player of all time?
No, I think that's why we did that no ring ranking where we started trying to like rank them without rings and all that. And like, how far down do you got to go? Because to me, I would say the best player without a ring of all time is Elgin Baylor.
Okay.
And Elgin Baylor at his peak was like 38 and 20. So, I mean, if you could think of someone else better without a ring, I'll give you
Nah,
kudos to
and
it.
those numbers are phenomenal for any season, any
I'm still a fan of Kemp. He did beat Malone and Akeem in playoff and numerous times. He did. So I don't know because we were talking about that on there. I know that they beat him, but here's the thing. So the only series I remember between Hakeem and Kemp, not to say they didn't have no more, but I remember 93, I remember 96, and then I remember 97. And so it was 2-1 Sonics over the Rockets, but they all went game seven. 93 was 7, 96 was 7, 97
Kemp
was
had
7.
Kemp had more help though too, or I guess more consistent help, more reliable help, I should say.
You look at their team. You look at their teams though too. Like I mean, he had Sam Perkins on. I mean, that was a number 4 draft pick. He had Gary Payton, one of the best point guards of all time. He had Nate McMillan, one of the best defensive point guards. Uh, people. Hold on one second. 96 might have been a sweep. I don't remember 96 exactly. I thought it went 7, but I could be wrong, and I could just have it mixed in with everybody else, all the other series going 7.
I don't
Um,
remember.
But 90, what was I going to say? Detlef Shrimp. People don't really realize how good Detlef
Delhi was
Shrimp was.
dope.
Detlef Shrimp would have been the second best player on the 94 Rockets.
Sure, I could see that. Yeah, I could see that. I mean, because he's doing everything that you need him to do, and when you need buckets, he can give you that. When you need rebounds, he can give you that. When you need defensive stops, he can give you that. He can pass the ball. Like he can pretty much do everything.
Well, see, then
Maybe
too,
not.
because he also, well, I was going to say this. He also brought this up as well, though. He brought up that Kemp beat Hakeem multiple times in the playoffs, and I go, well, Ben Wallace beat Shaq like 3 out of 4 times, and they used to play with different teams. So does that make Ben Wallace better than Shaq?
No, no, because on top of that, like Sean Kemp, it sounds like he may have. No, I got ready to say had more success than Barkley, but not really. But at the same time, it's like he's not even as good as Barkley in my eyes.
No, I don't know how he could be. He couldn't pass the ball. That would be his biggest thing. You know what I mean? You couldn't run the offense through him. Like, how can I put this? Any player, they need to be able to score and pass to run the offense through them. They need to be able to get
Hmm.
their other team involved, the other teammates involved. And Kemp, at his 1.5 assists and 2.0 assists, you know what I mean? You just couldn't run the
Well,
offense through him.
well, let me ask you this. You don't think a player can be good enough skill wise, just off scoring the ball, to run an offense through them without them being a great passer?
Well, I'll give you an example. Carmelo was a good scorer that was a terrible passer, and what was the best you could do with him being the best on your team? One time you could get to the second round in 20 years. So that's
Okay.
where the problem lies. It's not an
So you
effective way
said
to
with them
win. I
being the
mean, you
best.
can right,
Yeah,
if
yeah,
you're
because
throwing someone the
cause
ball, that's
mhm.
the difference. I'll put it this way. That is the difference between Kobe and Melo. That just shows you how much difference just a couple assists is. Because they both shot around the same percentage. They both scored a lot of points, but Kobe could get you those 5, 6 assists every game.
Mhm.
And the defense. So passing and defense, you know what I mean? And you just see the difference that goes, one time you get to the second round as the best player versus, you're the best player on 2 title teams.
Yeah, because I'm not gonna even lie. Even though the West was super stacked and had all of that competition, I'll never forgive Denver back in the day for just blowing their opportunity. I'm not saying they had an opportunity to win the title, but they definitely had an opportunity to do more than what they did. All, Denver was a super talented team. They had way too many players that were good for how those seasons turned out.
I don't know if anybody's beat them since then, but they definitely were the all-time tat team at one point. Just seemed like their whole entire rotation was just sleeved down. Um, I don't know if you remember that. I don't know if you remember this, but in '09, the Nuggets, the reason why they lost that series is because they couldn't inbound the ball at the end of games. They just kept throwing the Laker the ball at the end of the games in that '09 series. I've never seen a team
Like,
lose like that. Just forgot how to inbound the ball.
they were
I ain't
mentally
never seen
checked
that.
out.
I don't know. Maybe the moment was too big for him. I don't know. I don't know exactly what happened, but um, let's see into these previews. But before I want to
Yeah.
get into it, the coach was supposed to come on to us. He hit me up right before. He said he's got a pro day, so tomorrow, so he's not gonna be able to make it. So it'll just have to be our insights instead of his insights as well. I want to get into the teams that we've dropped off though, and I want you to tell me what you see moving forward from them. If they're like good enough moving forward to
Okay.
maybe where they're going next season, or do they need to make some adjustments and all that. So let's start off with we got no more Thunder now. What do you see from the Thunder? What do you think about them next year? Do you think they need to make improvements? They just need to grow? What's your assessment of them?
The Thunder, honestly, I just think they need to grow. Like, you feel me? It's not like the Thunder lost to a horrible team or anything like that. Like, the Thunder, they lost to a veteran team. Even though everybody on the Mavericks aren't veterans, that's a veteran team as far as the league goes right now. As far as their personnel and everything, and really, I really think that's what stood in their way, the experience. I don't really think it's anything else. I think it's they're obviously going to make some adjustments just based on the film, just based on where they feel like they fell short. But I don't see anything for them to hang their head, low on. They lost to a good team. They've been good all season. They're going to come back with a vengeance next year. Like, this is the starting point of a run that I think they're going to go on. They're going to be a consistent team, probably for the next few years, in my opinion. So shout out to them. Um,
What
what can they?
have you seen the rumors going around? Have you seen the rumors going around that they should trade some of their draft picks to the Suns for Durant and bring him home?
No, they should. Oh, I have not seen that, and I immediately got ready to dismiss that. But I just thought about Durant's not going to be in the league for that much longer. So it's just like, as a Durant fan, yeah, it would be great to see Durant go and finish his career back where it started. Well, kind of where it started, with the same organization it started with. So, but that's cool. Is that me? Yeah. As a fan, that's cool. But do I think they should do it? No, I think they should build with what they have. Um,
So
we
then
seen what
let's go
happened.
with the.
We
Go ahead.
I was gonna say we seen what happens when you trade a core, you or not necessarily a core, but when you trade like the chemistry, when you have people that are gelling and working together and they're developing their chemistry, and then you bring in a Kevin Durant, you're going to have to get rid of some of those pieces. In this sense, we may have to get rid of some of the pieces that would gel well with us in the draft sense. So you could potentially lose more than than you gain in that instance. Because let's say KD goes there, he helps them get a title, and then he retires, and then they've just missed out on these two draft picks and stuff because he just wanted another title with the team he started with, but he didn't just came and disrupted the team. And we've seen things like this happen. So nah, I don't think they should be trying to go for no cheat code. I think they should just stick with what they got and just, just get smarter, get tougher, get more mature. Like I said, I mean, look at how far they got this time.
Yeah, I mean, if you're a second round team, that means you're a top 8 team in the league. They lost in 6. It was a competitive series. If they could have quit losing at home, maybe if SGA doesn't make that foul, maybe it goes back to Game 7, and maybe now they're in it. So I mean, it's not like the Mavericks actually worked them or whatever. Not to mention Kyrie had to
It
hit
was a
that
close game.
shot anyways. Yeah, I mean, there are a
Mm-hmm.
few plays, and it could have swung different. So especially for our first playoff run, and we're really young. So yeah, I mean, I would be feeling really good. I wouldn't touch anything if I was the Thunder. So
Nah,
I would
I
just
don't see
keep
the
building with
point.
draft picks. Right. The only way is, maybe if I could get, I don't even know. I would say somebody like a Luca or something like that. But even so, then he needs the ball in his hands so much that disrupts the offense. The problem is with all their draft picks. I mean, they're just going to let some people go. So I mean, do you consolidate those for? If you have so many good players, are you going to have to? Are you going to trade and consolidate, or what do you do then?
I mean, when you have too many good players, it kind of, I don't know. It depends. It depends on, are we doing that to bring in other players, other good players, or just we just too stacked with good players?
Well, that's what I'm saying. With these high draft picks that they're supposedly going to be getting now, and they have all these draft picks. What do they do with all that? Because
I'm sure they're
you
gonna.
got to let the young bucks run, right? You got to let the young bucks run to develop them.
I'm sure they're gonna do some picks and trades. Um, they might, pick a player that, they might behind the scenes have like a team that they working with. They might snatch up the player that they want with their draft pick just to trade them. Like, you never know, something like that.
Who, who's a player that they could use right now that could get them like go propel from second round to just championship? What about if
It
they
could be
offered a
any.
package for Draymond?
Dre's toughness, his leadership, his I can't
Doesn't
say his
need the ball to
maturity.
score.
Right, yeah. So his toughness, his leadership, just his all of his experience, yeah, Dre can help, because look at it this way. On the team, in a role that Dre plays, crucial games, not necessarily crucial moments, but crucial games, Dre knows how to show up. And we've
Yeah,
seen Dre does well when he doesn't have the pressure on him. Dre can do well when he doesn't have the pressure and you just let him do him. So yeah, Dre could definitely be that push. A player like a Dre, I was gonna say a player like even what's his name, Wimby. I could see a player like Wimby helping them because of what he brings
Spurs won't trade
defensive.
him.
Oh, definitely not. No, 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 no. Oh, see, I
I'm
thought
saying
you were
would the
just
Warriors
talking.
trade Draymond? No, I'm saying like a good package with the draft picks they have, the young talent they have, somebody to like trade
Mm,
them. Like I mean, like would the
mm.
Warriors say no to that?
I think the Warriors will say no. The reason I think the
Hmm.
Warriors will say no, and the only reason I think the Warriors will say no, is because if they were going to get rid of Dre, I feel as though they would have done it by now. I think for the Warriors, Dre is very essential to keeping Steph happy. Even though he be pissing them off all the time, I think the Warriors are looking at what's going to keep Steph happy. Because even though Steph is falling out of people's top 10 and they starting to put disrespect on his name as far as like how good is he really, um, the Warriors can't play that game. They know they need him, and they know they need him happy. They know they need him less stressed. They know they need him comfortable, and Dre brings a lot of that comfortability. He does bring some of that stress, but he also alleviates some of it too, because you know without Dre on the court, Steph is getting not so much these days, but without Dre on the court, Steph was getting bullied and pushed around, and the rest of the team as well. So it's like I feel as though the Warriors know that they need a tough guy. And besides Draymond, besides Gary Payton, um, Kaminga, who else? Even Pajinski, who on that team is tough. Don't get me wrong, I'm not, I love them, but they don't really have toughness on that team. They got skill, they don't really have toughness. So you don't want to get rid of your only tough guy.
Well, I think maybe too the Warriors though they haven't been offered a good enough package, and I think that the Thunder for what the Warriors need to do, especially as they're getting old, they need some young youth in there, some good youth, some talented youth. I think
Hmm.
that obviously, I think that that could be a good package for them. But do you think if they added Draymond, that could get them from second round to the finals?
I think with Draymond, that can definitely get them to the finals. The Warriors, though, it would be in bad interest for them. The only reason I say that is because the Warriors are looking to capitalize on Steph still being. I'm not saying that they're not looking to try to rebuild and formulate another dynasty type of team. But while they still have who they have, what they're mainly trying to do is win with him real quick. I don't know that adding some rookies is going to help with that. Like it took a minute for Jordan Poole to come into his own, and then they got rid of him. So it's like it's going to take some time working with Steph and working with the Warriors. Because look at a player like Chris Paul. He went to the Warriors, and this is one of his worst seasons ever. But look at what he
But
brought
it's
to the
also the
Warriors.
oldest he's ever been, though. This might have been
Yeah,
his
but
one of his worst seasons ever, no matter where he went. Might have been because we don't know because of the age.
honestly, I feel as though it's because of the team he was on. I really do. I really feel it's the team. I feel the Warriors can be a joy killer for anybody that's not the core.
Okay, well let's get into the Nuggets. What do you think the Nuggets need to do? Do you think they need to do anything? Nothing? And I'll tell you what I think about the Nuggets.
I'm not I'm not entirely sure that the Nuggets really need to do anything either. The Nuggets are just one of those teams where they've been good for a few years now. So teams have kind of gotten to the point where, well, actually, no. Minnesota just had them. Minnesota was just playing tougher. I got ready to say teams have kind of figured them out, but no, I can't even say that. They haven't really figured them out. So because of that, yeah, I definitely have to say I don't know that they necessarily need to change anything. They just need to make sure that they keep specific players so long as they have Murray and Jokic primarily. We've seen Porter doing his thing. I think Aaron Gordon is a good X factor because you never know what he's gonna do. Um, his
You mean
abilities
that
are
big 4 points in 42 minutes that he showed up with in Game 7?
not that. No. But no, aside from that, you never know, because people forget. You know, Gordon was. I don't know if he was necessarily a premier player, but people forget Gordon was definitely one of those players that highlights can lead a team, things like that. He can't lead that Denver team, but he's a good guy that has the years, that has the experience, that has the knowledge, that can get in there and be a good leader on a court, at least a good general on a court. Can't really trust him with the ball like that, but you can trust him to clean up. You feel me? You can trust him to get into a good position. You can trust him to get some boards. You can lob to him still, things like that. So, and then he's still, he's still a defensive threat. So as long as they keep players like that, they're still going to do what they've been doing. I don't know that they continue to win or end up in contention for championships, but I definitely feel as though they're consistently going to be one of those teams that's going to be difficult to get through.
So let's put it this way. Here's what I think the Nuggets' problem is, and we're just going to go through this real quick. Who do you think's better, Jalen Brown or Jamal Murray?
Honestly, I think Murray's better. I think Brown is more consistent or more available. I think Brown is more available, but I think Murray's better.
See, I think
I
Brown
think
is better. Who do you
Brown
think?
gives you more
Go ahead.
defensively.
Hmm.
I was just gonna say I think Brown probably gives you more defensively, whereas Murray can be trusted more as an offensive option, like in clutch moments.
Well, I mean, he wasn't very clutch in Game 7, so But we'll go with that. So you got him, I got Brown. Who do you think? Who do you got better, Siakam or Murray?
Murray, although Siakam is a probably a better formula for success because you don't always need a Murray, but you're typically going to need a player like Siakam on your team.
Right. And I think Siakam too. So we're split there as well. Towns or Murray?
I guess it depends on what you're looking for. They can both pretty much do the same thing offensively. Towns better for defense, so I'm gonna go with Towns.
Okay. And then Irving or Murray?
Kyrie.
Okay, so what I'm saying is all four of those players have all been like multi-time all-stars and Murray's not. I think that's the Nuggets' really big problem. They got a guy that's really more of that should be a third best player on a title team playing the second best role.
So you're saying that they need one of these other type of players, like like
They
a
need like
Kyrie
yeah,
or
they need a legit second all-star is what they need, and they don't have that. Everybody else in the conference finals has two all-stars, bare minimum. And the Nuggets don't. So it's really hard to do that without a second all-star. I think that's
mm,
their problem. That's what I mean. Like when you see guys like Porter, Gordon, they put up 6 points in 40 minutes, 4 points. Murray just goes cold and all that. Like, I mean, don't get me wrong, when he's on, but he's not always on.
yeah, he's not always on.
And that's what stopped him from being an all-star is that consistency. It's like you said,
I
Jaylen
feel it.
Brown's more consistent.
He is. I feel as though Murray be hurt a lot too, though. So I feel as though that's kind of interfered with him being an all or him being like one of those superstars as well. I think he spent too much time on the bench or too much time out of the game.
Hmm.
And once that happens, once your spot opens up, you're just giving room for somebody else to, come in. You feel me? So I think that has something to do with it too. But I feel you on your point though. Maybe that's something that would help them. I mean, obviously that's something that would help. Anytime you can get another superstar and they're playing the right way and they're not there just to pat stats or just for individual accolades, yeah, that's gonna benefit your team.
I'm Yeah, and I mean, like even like with Minnesota, and I'm not saying that they're all at this level now, but they still were there at some point in their career. They've got at least four dudes that made an all-star team versus Nuggets team it's got one guy that made an all-star team.
Mm.
And then they got another dude coming off the bench and Nas Reed. And in game 7, when Towns went out with foul trouble, I watched Nas Reed go on one of the best 3-minute tears I've ever seen anybody go on.
He was out there hooping. He
Dude, I mean, what do you have? He had like 7 points, like 3 rebounds. Two of them were offensive rebounds. He had like an assist, 2 blocks on Jokic. He had like a
it was
steal. I mean, that dude was everywhere.
it was an immediate difference maker when he got in.
Yeah, they were up by 2, and 3 minutes later they were up by 10. And so,
Yeah.
did you see the post game conference that they were asking about that historically that teams need to lose first before that they make it?
Uh-huh. I don't think I saw that part, but I'm in agreement. A team does need to lose before they make it.
Well, they said this. They go. We lost last year. We lost the year before. They go. We've been losing for 20 years. How much losing we got to do? And then Anthony Edwards was like, he said, we've been losing for 20 years. Hit him with that.
I was a fool,
So,
but
so you
true.
don't think, so you don't think the Nuggets need to do anything?
No, I don't. I mean, even in
Okay.
consideration of what you're saying, I don't really think the Nuggets need to change anything.
Okay.
If anything, Murray just needs to figure out how to surpass some of these other guards that are in his way.
Yeah, I mean, but then again, Murray too. He's like, how old is he? He's like 28 or something like that. So I mean, this is his prime. So I don't know how much better he can get. Um, I mean, I only know one point guard that ever got better into his 30s than he was in his 20s. So maybe he can. I'm not saying that he can't, but I think yeah.
Who
So
you thinking?
Na- Nash, that's the only person I've ever seen that was better in their 30s than in their 20s.
You don't think Steph's better?
Um,
Or he's pretty
well, let's see.
he's pretty much the same actually.
Right. Well, I mean, his best season ever was he was 27 when they
Mm-hmm.
went
20.
73 and
Yeah.
9. So no, he got better in his late 20s and his early 20s, but no. Moving on, let's go with this. Knicks going forward. What do you think about the Knicks?
Isn't the Knicks issue health though? Aren't they
Yeah, no, no,
like
no. Definitely. I mean, they were missing their starting center, their starting power forward. Hart was hurt. Anobi was
yeah?
hurt. So that's
So
why I'm asking. What do you think about the Knicks moving forward?
oh, moving forward. Oh, they're a
Yeah.
threat moving forward. Oh, they're a threat. The Knicks have been proving they're a threat for they've been a quiet storm for the past like 2 or 3 years now. But like I mean we were seeing it earlier in the season. Even if we go back to like the end season days, you were seeing the Knicks was ready. Like the Knicks at one point were looking like one of the best teams in the league, and then they started slipping, and then they came back. So the Knicks was pretty consistent all season, was showing people that this ain't no fluke. Like it don't matter if we got all of our players, some of our players, we're gonna play hard. So
Do you
with
think
the
Jalen
Knicks,
Brunson? Do you think Jalen Brunson right now can feel like he's the best player in the league, legitimately?
no. But what I do feel as though is Jalen Brunson can legitimately feel as though he can work hard enough to be that. Like I think Jalen Brunson can see it. Like you feel me? Like you know how you're not quite at the finish line, but you see it. It's like I'm not there yet, but I can be. I think that's what's going on in his mind. I don't think realistically, given all of the competition in the league, that in his mind he feels as though he's the best. I could see him feeling like he's the best at a position. I could see him feeling like he's the best in a certain series. I don't know that I see him feeling like he's the best in the entire league though.
Well, I
But
guess
I
what I'm
can see
saying
him
is
playing with that confidence.
if he just, but like we can all agree that he played the best in the playoffs so far, right?
Um, I guess, yeah. I mean, I wouldn't dispute it.
Well, that's what I mean. So if you feel like I was the best player in the playoffs, why aren't I the best player in the league?
Because the playoffs is a shorter period of time. It's a
Mm.
more tunnel vision type of focus to go into the playoffs. You feel me? You only have to focus for so many games in the playoffs. So, mentally he was locked in. Every player isn't locked in, but because a player isn't locked in does not make them a better player. You feel me? Just because they have whatever going on with them mentally doesn't make them any less great or any less good than they already have proven themselves to be. So I feel as though he may have been hyper focused. He may have been one of the more focused players in the playoffs. And that's the reason why we're seeing him do what he was doing. He could have even been one of the most clutch players in the playoffs. But I do not think he, given, this playoff run, I do not feel as though it was enough for him to feel like he's the best. I think he
So
has to
then,
know.
so then, if you're in the Knicks locker room, do you feel like next year we can win a title with this group?
If I'm in a Knicks locker room, probably. If I'm in a regular, real locker room, hell no. But if I'm in a Knicks locker room, I'm sure that's what they telling themselves. I mean, they got Jalen Brunson. He's looking like a giant killer of the league this year. So I could see them riding that confidence as a Knicks team, like, hey, we
Hmm.
got this. But no, realistically speaking, no. The Knicks still
So
got
if
to
that team,
prove that.
so if the Knicks were healthy this year, you don't think they could have toppled the Celtics in the conference finals?
The way the Celtics are, I mean, it depends. It depends on
Mhm.
what kind of league the Celtics have going into the fourth quarter, I suppose.
Mhm.
I feel as though even with a healthy Knicks team, the Celtics is still the favorite. But
Mhm.
yeah, I mean, anything can happen with the Celtics. I don't know
Mhm.
what their deal is, as I'm watching
I
them
know
get ready to
they're
lose
down right now.
now.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I know they're down
exactly.
right now. But I mean, they
Case
got
in
no
point.
Porzingis. Well, they're but Porzingis means so much to them, and they say Porzingis won't be back at least till Game 4. So, um,
Mhm.
and not only that, I mean, and we'll get into the predictions earlier, but I did expect them to drop some games to the Pacers.
Of
Um,
course.
all right, so let's go with the Cavs. So the Cavs got dropped by the Celtics. What about the Cavs moving forward? What do you think of them?
I'm gonna be real. I don't even follow the Cavs like that. Um, moving forward with the moving forward with the Cavs, honestly, I'm truthfully shocked that they even are as competitive as they are. To be quite honest,
Yeah,
um,
I was texting their assistant coach Sidney Lowe today. He's supposed to come on the show. Been waiting to get him on the show for a while now. But yeah, I want to know what they think. What's the huh?
Jalen Brown just hit that clutch three.
Yeah, I know, and that's why he's better than Murray.
He's more consistent than Murray.
He's
Not
more
playing.
he's more consistent than Murray. No, I like Cleveland's nucleus going by. I think they just need really what they're missing for me is they need that superstar level player. Donovan Mitchell had his first ever good playoff run since he's been in the league. He was good in the bubble, but I don't count the bubble for someone if you play shitty before and after the bubble. But so yeah, he had his first good playoff run, but supposedly he wants to go to New York. He wants to get out of Cleveland. So I
Oh
don't know. So,
snap!
and supposedly if they re-sign him, Darius Garland doesn't want to get back there. So I have no idea what's going by there. But to me, yeah, they just need
Ooh.
that one consistent. They need somebody like a. To me, they need somebody like a Kevin Durant or something like that. And then with all that talent, I just think that would be. I think that'd be really good for him moving forward. That's where I'm at on Cleveland.
I can see
But you
that.
want to get into these predictions. Let's go with first off, let's go with it. What series are you more so looking forward to? Pacers, Celtics, or Timberwolves, Mavs?
Mavs and Tims, or
Okay, well we'll
Mavs and
start off
Wolves. I
there then.
mean,
Okay, so we'll start off there then. So tell me what you think going into that.
so it's very difficult for me. Um, Obviously, the series can go either way. That goes without saying. But the reason I'm making a comment, the series can go either way, is because of the fact that you got this hungry Minnesota team, and then you have this composed Dallas team. Um, for me, I want to see what happens with Kyrie and Edwards because I feel as though that's the determining factor. Because if somehow Kyrie is able to neutralize what Edwards is doing, Dallas is going to run through them, and vice versa. If well, no, I can't say vice versa. If Edwards is able to neutralize what Kyrie's able to do, then it's just about somewhat trying to contain Luca, which obviously isn't going to happen. But if you put all the if somehow they're able to take everyone else out of the game and just lose to Luca or just live or die with Luca's game, they might get through that series because Luca's gonna do what Luca do. So my predictions are I don't want I don't want to say this. My prediction is Dallas right now. I could see that changing. It would not shock me if Minnesota wins. Like ideally, in the finals, I would prefer to see it like this. If Minnesota goes to the finals, I prefer to see them up against Indiana. If Dallas goes, I prefer to see them against Boston. Um, as far as who's going to make it to the finals right now, I'm going with Dallas. I'm thinking that Dallas has a little more of the veteran leadership, even even as far as the coach goes. I think they got the veteran leadership that it takes to make it through the playoffs and make it in,
The
the
Timberwolves coach
championship.
is on crutches. Timberwolves coach is going through pain and suffering and all that. Um, Here's what I don't like about Dallas though. So I'm gonna go Minnesota. I like the way Minnesota's been playing. I think they've just been very impressive, knocking off the champs. Game 7 on the road with Anthony Edwards shooting 6 for 24. I don't like some things I don't like about the Mavericks, and until they win, I'm just not going to like it. I don't like PJ Washington as your third leading scorer. I just don't like that. I don't think I don't think that's a
You don't
formula for
think
a
he's
championship success.
you don't think he's going to be consistent enough?
Well, I mean, he's shooting 11 times to score 14 points. That's not really that good. It's predicated on other people. Luka shoot 30% from three this postseason, 42% overall. I don't think that's gonna hold up against Minnesota. And what I mean by that is if he's shooting 30% from three and 42% from the field, they're not gonna beat Minnesota. You cannot
Nah,
shoot
because
42%. Go ahead.
no, I was gonna say it's not gonna beat them. Also because of the fact they're not gonna get those rebounds against that Minnesota team. So all of them misses are probably going to turn into like
Salute to you too,
fast,
D.
probably gonna turn into like fast paced points on the other end.
hmm And then I don't like, as well as Kyrie's been playing, he's only getting you 21 a game. I just don't think that's enough. Um,
Oh no, I don't think he's gonna keep doing that. I think Kyrie's gonna show up. I think Kyrie has a point to prove right now against Minnesota. So we may see, and I'm hoping we see this. I'm hoping Kyrie doesn't take this series off. I'm hoping Kyrie takes this series serious, and we see like the same type of Kyrie we saw in Cleveland playing with LeBron. That's what I'm thinking we're probably going to see in this Western Conference Finals, especially when you got Edwards coming out his mouth talking about how excited he is to go up against Kyrie.
no, yeah, definitely that. And I just like the depth better on Minnesota. Like I
Oh yeah,
said,
yeah,
you
yeah,
got,
yeah. They do.
Edwards, Gobert, McDaniels, Conley, Towns. Like I said, Nas Reed is coming off the bench, and I would just witnessed him in Game 7 give me three of the best minutes I've ever seen anybody, ever.
Mm.
Like I don't
Oh
think I don't
yeah,
think people understand how good he was from minute 6 to 3.
oh yeah. And also for the record, even though I'm saying I'm looking at Dallas right now, I also feel as excuse me, also feel as though with Dallas, I feel as though Luka's probably gonna have to average like against Minnesota. He probably gonna have to average like 35. Kyrie probably gonna have to average like 27 or 30 for them to win. Maybe not so much.
Yeah,
I think Luka's gonna have to average that much though, definitely. Kyrie's gonna have to average at least 25 for them to win.
but see, that's another thing too that's got me is after Luca and Kyrie, like where is that consistent offensive going? What about when they have a bad game? Where else are you
Mm-hmm.
going to get that from? And that's what I'm saying. I just think Minnesota has more depth. More depth. I think they're hungrier. I think their confidence is through the roof. They swept a team that was supposed to win the title in the Suns. They beat the defending champs in 7. Um, and so I just don't. I don't know. So you got Mavericks right now. In how many games? What are you predicting it in?
So the crazy thing is, I have the winner of the Western Conference in 6 period. So whoever wins, it's gonna be in 6 games. Um, yeah, I think I need to see how they match up in this first game for me to make a stern prediction. But for now, I'm going with Dallas in 6.
In 6.
Mm-hmm.
I got you.
Minnesota, if they were to win, I feel as though that's going to be in 6 as well.
No, I just don't. Yeah, I just don't see it with the map. I don't see it. I think their run is at an end right now. I think Minnesota's too hungry. I think they're too deep. I think they have more talent. I mean, they got like 2 number 1 picks in Anthony Edwards and Towns. You know what I mean? And those guys are extremely talented. That putback dunk that
What
Towns
Luca?
did. You know what I mean?
What number did Luca go?
Third, fourth,
Okay.
because I know because it was Aiton number 1, Bagley number 2, then it might have been Luca because then he got
That's
traded for
ridiculous. Aiden over Luca is wild. That is wild.
Well, I mean, I think whatchamacallit, I think Bagley over Luca is a
That's
much
wild too.
more egregious thing. But if you looked at Aiton after he picked up the second half of the season, I mean, he was getting like 24 and 12 for the Blazers second half of the
What's he doing
season.
right now?
He's sitting home.
Exactly. And
He's
when I
sitting.
said that, I didn't even necessarily mean at this current moment, but I meant as far as to the league. Like, what's he doing right now?
Yeah, I know it's
How
crazy.
much?
I mean, we could have had a with Phoenix. They could have had a Luca Booker duo right now
That'd be nuts.
and all
That
that.
would have
Let's
been
get
nuts.
into the Eastern Conference. So first off, so who you got? You gonna go with Pacers, Celtics, and then tell me why.
I'm going with Boston. I mean, as we've already seen, this is familiar territory for Boston, so I don't see them being rattled by anything, any matchups. I don't see them any position that they're in at the end of the game going up against. Well, I take that back. They do have issues with closing out, but I still feel as though, given how many times they've been in this exact position over recent years, with this being Indiana's first time in how long being in the Eastern Conference Finals, I feel as though Boston is going to figure out how to get past them. I feel as though it's just they're too familiar with this territory right now.
But
Um,
why are they struggling tonight so much, you think?
I mean, maybe they underestimated them to a certain extent. Um, Indiana had a more recent game than them. Maybe they've been chilling too long. Maybe it takes like getting back focused. It's kind of like when you haven't been working. You typically only get the 2 days off, but you've been off for 4 or 5 days now. It's gonna be a little rough, even though you've been consistent. Wow, is that an and one? Even though you've been consistently working and everything like that, just being out of the office for them few days could mess you up. So it might be something like that. I
So how many
feel as
games you
though,
got Boston in?
not to disrespect Indiana, I see Boston in like 5. Although it's crazy because I actually want Indiana to win this game, but I see Boston in like 5.
What do you think Indiana's got to do to beat Boston in the series then?
I mean, outscore them. From what I'm seeing, all right. So
If
they're
they I'll
gonna
tell
be.
you
They're
what,
gonna.
if in my opinion, this is what, if they can handle those second quarter runs that Boston goes on, or those first quarter runs, third quarter, you know what I mean? Those 16-4 runs, those 12-2 runs, things like that. They can withstand them, not lose their poise, fold, just keep coming, keep coming, keep coming. Boston will let them in. Boston will let them back in the game.
Yeah. The thing about Boston though is
The
just
talent,
like
just
Indiana.
way, way too much talent.
Yeah, because I'm like, just like Indiana, they can get super hot as well, but they got more talented pieces on their team. So if they get hot like Indiana did that last game, it's going to be discouraging. I'm
So
looking right now.
Sand City
Everybody,
Sports says it's looking like Indian 7.
ooh,
Now I'm telling you from this one game, are you
ooh.
getting Indian 7?
I could see that from this one game. I mean, look at the score right now. We in OT. It's 123 to 121. Only a minute left, so it's been a close game pretty much from what I've seen the entire game. So if this is the pace, if this is what they're gonna be competing like every night, oh, I can definitely see this going to 7. This is game one. We already in overtime. So like I said, if this is how they're gonna be playing the whole time, how far fetched is it that they might have to go the whole 7? See, Tatum with an N one just now. So yeah,
But
they
now it's
just
back
going
and
back and
forth.
forth.
Yeah, before the series started, I was gonna say Celtics in 5, because it seems like every series they just give a game away. But looking at the Pacers are playing them, and then no Porzingis, I could see this going 6.
That
So
was a
I'm gonna go.
stupid foul.
But yeah,
Oh,
I'm gonna go Celtics in
six,
6. Yeah,
six.
like I said, I just think they have the best player in the series, and they have the deepest team. They have the most talent. Um, let's break it down like this. Who do you got their second best player, Siakam or Brown? Who do you think's better?
Siakam or Brown?
Hmm.
Brown.
Yeah, see, so they got the first best player. So, out of Halliburton, Tatum, they got the first best player. Then out the second best player, they got the advantage there as well. So that's where I don't know where they catch up on it personally.
Mm-hmm.
But what I
Yeah,
do
because
like is, go ahead.
now I was just gonna say because in all honesty, even though I think Halliburton's good, I think Brown is better. And it's not necessarily that I feel as though Brown is just an all out better talent than Halliburton, even though they could be suggested. I feel as though just his 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 mindset. I feel as though he has a different, I don't want to say necessarily confidence, but I definitely feels like he's more prepared for the moments than Halliburton is right now. I feel as though when it comes down to it, it's more likely that Halliburton is going to choke than Brown right now. So yeah, I
Well, I'm gonna tell
started.
you this much. Hold on about Boston. I want to answer this question or this comment. They've been lackluster. No, they've been like that all year though, dropping games. You know what I mean? They've just been, when shit gets tight in the fourth, they haven't been really coming through and all that. I'll tell you what's crazy too.
That's not
I
even
think we
all
agree.
year.
Boston.
That's not
Go
even
ahead.
just this year. Boston has that reputation in general. Like ever since they've had this team that they have, Boston has had that reputation for falling apart in late minutes of the game. But my bad. Go ahead.
No, I was gonna say we both agree that Boston's a deeper team, right?
Yes.
Do you know that in the playoffs this season that you got 5 players in Boston averaging double figures in scoring, but Indiana has 7?
Yeah. It's also about like who gets played though. You feel me? Certain players are drawn up, certain players are put out there. So stuff like that. But I'll put it this way: as I'm looking, I see Tatum, Horford, Brown. Who else did I just see out there?
Holiday,
Is that White? Holiday and White. I would
White,
take
yeah.
that lineup. Yeah, I would take that lineup over the Indiana lineup that's out there. Like as far as who I'm trusting in overtime or who I'm trusting in the final minutes of my game.
Horford's one.
Whoa.
Horford's one of those players where the stats don't back it up, and neither do the rings, obviously. But Horford is a winning player. Horford is his
Yes.
15-8 go towards wins.
Horford is
You
like
are a
a
better team with Horford.
Horford is like a less offensively explosive but taller Patty Mills as far as to a team. I don't feel as though he plays anything like him. That's not what I'm suggesting. I'm suggesting what he brings, what he can do. It's like for instance, you don't see Patty Mills being like the lead scorer in a game, but he can. You feel me? You
Hmm.
feel me? You never know. Horford. You don't necessarily look to Horford to be that person that hits a game winner. Would it shock you if Horford got open for a game winner? Probably not.
No, well,
So,
he's
so
got
it's
one of the
like
ugliest shots of all time.
that crazy release. So yeah, so I say
What?
that to say like he's one of those players where he's an asset to every team. That's why I compare him to Patty Mills. He's gonna be an asset to the team so long as you utilize him right. And then with him being his size, being one of the bigger players, you kind of have to utilize him because there's a shortage of them.
I remember one time I was watching an interview with Al Horford. I was watching it on TV, and my mom was walking by or whatever. She's like, "My God, that man's pretty." I
Al.
was like, "Well, not if you saw his jump shot."
What's funny about Horford too? Horford is one of those players who has always looked way older than he is. Like, how old is Horford? Horford's like around
He's
our
born in
age, right? But
'86. He's born in '86.
see, Horford younger than me, and he look not that he necessarily looks old, but it's just like Horford has kind of looked the same age his whole career.
So, what's your prediction? You got the Celtics?
Yeah, I got the Celtics. I
How
got
many
the
games?
Celtics in 5.
You got Celtics in 5.
Yeah,
So, out of the
looks like they
four
about
teams left, I know because they finally got up by a couple buckets, but out of the 4 teams left, what do you think would be the most interesting finals matchup?
the most interesting would be Minnesota versus Boston.
Are you going Celtics the rest of the way with your predictions? You think?
No, I want the Celtics to lose. Not on no hating stuff, but kind of. I want the Celtics to lose because I want Minnesota to win the title this year. And if it ain't Minnesota,
I'm rooting for
I'll be
Minnesota.
you feel me. And if it ain't Minnesota, I'll be cool with Dallas winning. And that's because Boston, even though I like them as a team, they're not one of my Eastern Conference teams. So because of that, it's just straight West West. Like you feel me. If my team is not in it, then it's gonna be my region that I root for. So
Yeah.
that's what's going on.
Mm.
So yeah, whatever team that makes it from the West, that's who I'm riding with.
Yeah, I don't know about that. I probably would go. I'm probably rooting for the Celtics, and if the Mavs go, I'll root for whoever comes out of the East.
I'm, I don't see myself rooting for Indiana at all, and it's crazy
Well,
too
that's your
because in the
region.
'90s,
That's your region.
that's what I was gonna say was in the '90s. So I was gonna say it's funny because in the '90s, Indiana would have been one of the teams I was rooting for. I love Kobe. I was rooting for Indiana against LA.
Mhm.
Like I wanted Reggie and them to beat LA, even though I was a Kobe fan.
Hey, one of the all-time funny moments ever is when Kobe rushed Reggie Miller and he flexed him on the and how you get flexed by Reggie Miller? Like Reggie Miller's
because
arms look about as big as my wrist.
because Reggie had been there before. Reggie, if you remember, Reggie had got choked out just like that by Mike. So Reggie was like, I ain't going for this again. You're
I
not
do.
finna sun
Hey,
me.
wait a minute. So you're saying Reggie's like, man, I ain't getting choked out by Diet Mike.
That's exactly what I'm saying. That is exactly what I'm saying.
Oh man. So, anyways, those are our predictions. Hopefully, we're right and all that. You got anything else you want to talk about, or
Let's go Wolves. But
let's
nah, I
go
ain't got
Wolves?
nothing else.
Well, let's go 0 to 200 real quick.
Finish, please don't make me laugh with that half-ass gimmick. I'm about to get mine and it's about time. Call us grindhouse, everybody in a house grind. I'm just doing me, I ain't trying to outshine. Trying to kill my vibe is how you get outlined. I don't do it for the views and the likes, boy. I'm just giving you what I wrote last night, boy. I don't care if it isn't what you like, boy. My flow is fucking awesome, ain't it, white boy?
Real quick though, I will say this though. Because we just used the song. Shout out to B.com. His birthday is coming up on the 24th. So RIP to B.com and happy birthday, bro. And yeah, since we won't see y'all, I just wanted to throw that out there.
Hey, shout out to my stepkid, Gabby. Same, her birthday's the exact same day, and all
24th?
that. Oh, I meant to
Oh
tell you
yeah.
too. Make sure you send Jolene that clip.
Oh yeah, all right, for sure, for sure.
And so, anyways, all right, man. We will be back next week, y'all. We all appreciate y'all tuning in. Make sure y'all like, subscribe, support the channel. Until then, we'll see y'all.